So first of all, thank you very much for joining us today for our highly anticipated webinar, How We Built the Studio Homepage. So first, let me introduce myself. I'm Aaron from the Wix Studio marketing team. And before joining Wix, I was also working in different agencies, both big and small, managing client relationships, creative teams, and even digital builds. And I'm here today with the lead technical designer from Wix Studio and the Studio Academy, Tal Shankar. Hey, Tal.
Hey, Aaron. Thank you. And I'm Tal, and I'm a web creator at the marketing education team of Wix Studio. And part of my role is to build the site that we created, which is, first of all, is our Wix Studio Academy, where we have a lot of content and lesson that you can go to and learn to know the Wix Studio that we had. We also had a lot of sandbox, which is also a great way to learn step by step how to create very nice interactive sections. And of course, one of the project was to build the homepage, and this is what we're going to show you today. And before we start, so Aaron, if you can give some intro.
Yeah, thank you, Tal. So a few things we want to run through before we get started. So first, down below, it looks like most of you are already familiar with the chat box. Now, this is a great place where you can connect with one another during the webinar. We'd love to have you engage back with us during the webinar. But if you want any questions answered, and I already see some questions going in the chat, but any questions that we can answer, whether it's Tal or our Wix Studio experts who are online here in the room with us now, make sure you submit your question below, but using the Q&A panel. So whatever question you write in the Q&A panel, we can respond right here during the webinar. And you can also vote for the questions that you see other attendees have submitted to see which question we are going to answer at the end of the webinar. Now, before you ask, yes, the webinar is going to be recorded, so you can watch it all again on your own time and try all the different tips you've learned today. In about 1 or 2 days, you'll get an email with a link so you can watch it again. So now let's get going with why you've come today. So before Tal builds for you, we want to show you the creative process that took place in planning the homepage. And hopefully this process is something that you can transfer over to your client projects when you're going from concept to build. So let's take a look at our brand creation process. First, we defined a list of values that we wanted to attribute to our brand, such as sharp, witty and positive, high-end yet approachable. Then came the logo, the color palette, the font, and typography style, which we then bring together in the UI design system and visual language. Taking a look at the homepage that Tal will be building today, you can see the results of this process and how that system comes to life. If you look at the new logo in the top left, the combination of the square and circle represents the full solution that Wix Studio provides. And we have reflected that in different and surprising ways throughout the site, like the widening circle animation that you see in the second section here. You can see, for example, the color palette is rich and confident and focused. And then we have small, bright accents from our color family coming out in those 2 sections at the bottom. And you can also see in those bottom 2 sections how we organize the information. So everything is built on the grid. And as you know, the grid is really central to Wix Studio. And we keep the grid fluid to keep you engaged as you scroll. So now I think this is the perfect time to hand you off to Tal, and she will bring all of this to life on Wix Studio inside the editor right now. Thanks, Tal.
Thank you, Aaron. So today we're going to build those 4 sections, and they are very beautiful sections. And on each section, we're going to cover some different scroll interaction. We're going to use the reveal, the shape, the move, and the fade. And we're going to use the sticky and combine between the interaction and the sticky to create a lot of more interaction that are more beautiful. We're going to use the advanced size and to build more efficiently to create faster result and of course some great tips while we're working. So let's start with our first section. And first of all, when I see a design, I'm trying to understand the element that I need and the behavior. So if we look on this design, I can see that I have some text elements, also gray and white, and I have some reveal effect on the white text. And I have also some background image And all of this behavior happens while I'm scrolling the page. So if we go to the live site, you will see that I'm scrolling through the page and this reveal starts to happen. And once everything ends, it starts to go up. So let's jump to the editor and start build. So this is our Wix Studio editor. And first of all, I'll start by dragging and add all the elements that I need to our canvas. So from the media, I already upload the images that I need. So I'll add this image right here. And first of all, I can just resize our section so I have enough space to work with. Also, you can come from the layer, from the inspector panel right here and just set different value. And now I start with enough space to work with. You can just drag the element and resize. And now let's add our text element from the quick add. You have all this element that you will need. So let's move it right here. I change the color to white and I want to make it bigger. So I can just from this corner to start dragging and resize our font. And of course, you can set different font size right here. All the properties that you need for your design, you can find in our inspector panel. So let's change also the font and the content. So let's type Wix Studio. And now I need to create another text element. So I can just with Command C or Control C and copy and paste our text element. And from the three dots, you have those options right here. So let's change this one to gray. I'll pick this gray. And now this is my first tip. Always when you work and you need to use your element, I know that I need to set the animation that I need on the white text. So I'll go to the layers panel right here and give a name for the element so I can find it later more easy way. So let's change it right here. And now I want this text will be on top on this one. And I need the white text will be above the gray one. So you can, from the three dots, go to the arrange and tell them to move backward. Or you can just drag this text element right here under, and you will see the white text is now above the gray one. So just using Shift to select multiple elements. And I'll just copy again. So I want to have two sentences. So let's write homepage. And I'll do the same. So I'll do the gray text elements. Great. And once again. And of course, I'll change it. So I will find him later. And let's make this is the white. I just change it. Great. So I have all the elements that I need, and I can start with place the element as the design that I have, and then we go to the behaviors and the things that I want. So I want to set this image here. You always can go to the align panel and align your element, and I want the image will cover the entire screen. And let's say this high for now. And I want to move those two text elements right here to the bottom. So instead to drag each text element, I can use, like we're doing in any design system, to create some group for several elements. So I'll just using Shift. And in the Wix Studio, we place them inside one container. So now I have the container, which contain the text element inside of it. And now I can just drag the container once. I'll do the same right here, again with Shift, place them in one container, and it's make my work more easier to move some things around. So now let's go back to the live site, and you can see that while I'm scrolling, all these elements remain in place. In the editor, it's called sticky. And if you want to learn, of course, more about Sticky, you can always go to the Academy, and we have lesson for Sticky to understand how it works. And I'm going to show you for now. I'm selecting my image, and in the layers panel under position, you have the position type, and you can find the sticky right here. So I'll set this image as sticky, and you can see that it jumped in the range. So I can just go and send him to back. And if I go to preview, you will see that this image background, I'm sorry, let's close this one. It stays inside the screen while I'm scrolling through the page. So this is the effect that I want. But now I need to apply sticky on this container and sticky on this container, and it's take a lot of actions. So this is the second tip that I can give you. So I just undo this image and bring it back to default. And instead to apply a lot of times the sticky, I just grab all the elements that I need. And as we place them inside one container right here, I place all these elements in one big container. And now I'll go back to the position and set the big container to be sticky. So if now I go to preview, you will see that while I'm scrolling, all these containers remain in place and remain sticky. So this is a great way to work faster and apply just one time the effect that you need. So I have this effect that I want. I need to add the reveal, and let's see what's happened if I resize. So everything looks okay. And before we apply the animation, if we go back here to the live site, you will see that the image covered the entire screen, which means it's covered the entire viewport width and the entire viewport height of the screen, 100% of the width and 100% of the height. So how can I achieve this effect? So if I select the section, and once you click on element, you can see from the floating menu here which element you are selecting right now. So in this case, I'm on the section, and also from the top in the inspector, you can see the element you're selecting. So if we go and look about our responsive behavior, you will see that we have the option to fit to screen. And now I know no matter screen size, this section is always going to cover the entire screen. But on our case, I just undo this action. I want this container will cover our entire screen. So if I go to the responsive behavior, I will see that I don't have this option. And that's why we're going to change to the advanced size. So from the three dots right here, with toggle on, you will see all the measurement units that we need of this container, of course. So we can see that the width covers the entire width, and I want to set the height of this container. So if we click right here, you will see different measurement units. And from my design, I need to select the viewport height, which is basically like taking % of the viewport height of the user screen. So I'll set the container to 100. And again, you have the tutorial about the advanced sizing in the Academy, so you can go and explore. And now if you'll see our container, the blue bounding box, you will see that it's covered now the entire and 100% of our height of the screen. So this is look okay. Now I'll go to the image and stretch it. So also the image will cover the entire container. And if we resize, everything looks okay beside the text element. If you can see the text element going up, and I want them always to stay right here near to the bottom of this container. So for that, in the layers panel right here under position 2, we have the docking and the margin box. The margin is basically the distance that the elements take from the top, and I want to change it to be from the bottom. So for this one, I'll change its docking. The docking is where the distance takes from. So I change by clicking right here, the docking of the container to the bottom, and I can set different values if you want to be pixel perfect, of course. And also here, dock to the bottom, let's make it 10%. And now if I resize the screen, you will see the text elements are keeping the bottom of the container. So you need to think responsive all the time, no matter screen size we had, always the site will look good. So we have this one, and the sticky is going to be stick until his parents end. This is how sticky work. So if this container is sticky, it's going to remain inside its parent, in this case is our section, until the bottom edge touch the bottom edge of his parent. So once this container is going to touch this bottom of the section, everything will start to go up. So this is the distance that I have. So I want to make this section higher. So I have more distance to scroll. So once we change the units of this container and it lives inside this section, you will see this section is set to scaling. So I'll just add some element to focus on. And if now I resize the screen, you will see that the container is always take 100% of the height, but this section is changing its height. And I want also, I just delete this one, to set the height for the entire section. So for this one, I go again to the advanced size now for this section, and I'll set the height again to viewport height. And if you like to work with shortcuts, so you can just type VH, like shortcut of viewport height. By clicking enter, it will change automatically. So it's a very nice shortcut if you like to work with. And now I know that I have container that it's always going to take 100% of the viewport height, and the section is going to take 150% for the viewport height. So if we go back to preview, I'm start scrolling, this container cover our entire screen until the bottom of the edge of the container and the section are meeting, and then everything start to go up to our next section, of course. So everything looks okay, and I just need to add our reveal effect. So to create animation, you have right here the interaction tab. And once you add interactions, if it's scroll, click, no matter the interaction you want, the trigger that start the animation will apply on the element you're selecting on. So in our case, the section, it's going to be our trigger. Because this design is stay in place, the section is scrolling behind. So this is what's going to tell us when to start the animation and when to end. So the element you want to be the trigger, make sure to add the interaction on the trigger you want. So let's see what we're going to do. Let's add some scroll effect, and you can see that we can't add scroll interaction to our section, but it's okay because I want to change the animated element right here. So let's start with our first text element. I can just find it here, and that's why I changed the name, so it will be much easier for me to find. So I'll select the first text element, and now we have the animation path. I have to its design or from its design, and it's mean how you look on the editor, and the animation to your design on how you look right now. And this is what we want, so we keep it. And if we change to from its design, it will start with white and then start to disappear. So let's keep it to its design on, again, how it's looked now on the editor. And right here, we have the reveal effect. And let's go to adjust the animation. And I know that I want the direction come from left. And if you want to see your animation while you adjust the animation, make sure this toggle right here below, it's toggle on. So while you're scrolling, you will see the animation in the adjust mode. So we have now the animation area, and it's considered to the trigger. It means once the trigger enters into the screen, and this is the 0 point, and the 100 is once the trigger element is go out of the screen. And all of this is the process of the element inside our screen. So in our case, the trigger element is the section. And as you can see, the section is already on the screen. So basically it says that the animation already started. So what I need to do is change the start point of our animation. So let's say something like 40. And of course, you can always move. You have this red line as indicator to see where's the element right now inside this process of the scroll in the page. So you can play with the values and just look on your animation and make sure when you want to start and when you want to end. So you can, by clicking on the circle, you will open this pop-up. And let's say from 40 to 50. And this is look okay. I'll go back. And now I'll do the same for our second text element. And also the section is going to be our trigger. So let's add and change our animated element. And of course, you can, by choosing canvas, select the text element as well, keep to its design, and add the reveal. Now I will want this text element start after the first one ends. So I'll just set, I change from left, of course, and I'll tell the animation start when the first one ends, and it's 50 until 60. So let's go preview and see what we got. So I have this container, start scrolling, and the reveal starts. This is look great. And I have all this container that it's sticky inside this section. And once the sticky ends, everything starts to go up. So this was our first section. And I just add the second one. And Aaron, if you have any questions.
So we do have a question that I think is great to answer right now.
Feel free to ask.
So this is actually something I can relate to. When I was first learning Wix Studio, I needed a lot of help with sticky. Can you explain why you set the viewport height to 150%? It's bigger than the screen size. So at the beginning, I would never think to do that. And I would think that the editor doesn't allow that. So why do you need to set it bigger than the screen size?
Okay. So first of all, sticky, remember, once we apply sticky of any elements, you need the space to be sticky too. It doesn't have to be the full height of the screen. We can just add some element right here, and it's going to be sticky until its parent ends. In this case, the first container is already covered the entire screen height. So to create some sticky, and I consider the sticker here as the duration of the scrolling of the page and also the duration of the animation. So because this container is already covered the entire height of the screen, I need to make sure its parent is bigger than him. So let's say if I set it smaller value, this is going to be the scroll duration and the animation. So it's not enough space. I can set higher value, and then I have more scroll and more duration of the animation. And in this case, it's only because this design is already 100% of the size. And of course, you can set any values here that you want and see what's fit to you.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, so let's continue to our next section. So again, I can see that I have here some shape that it's open from a small circle, and I have two text elements that one of moving left from this point and the second one come from a long distance. So I have three elements that I need right here. And again, all of this happen while I'm scrolling through the page. So we already added a new section, and we remember that we can't apply scroll interaction on the section itself. So we're going to add container from the quick add, and I can just stretch it so it will cover the entire space. I just add another section so we can see the scroll happens. And let's add some text paragraph right here. And again, change it to text. So Wix Studio, and I just copy and paste to homepage. Now I'll set different font size, let's say 15, and just resize the bounding box, and also here. Great. So I have again all the elements that I need and just start building the behavior that I want. So I want the Wix Studio homepage will look like one sentence. So I need to measure how distance I want. But you can see that I have some overlap here with the both text element. So I can just resize until it's touched the last word, but I can just go to the responsive behavior, and on text you have the option to create hug, and it means the max content of our content inside. So I'll change again to hug right here, and now I can make sure the distance that I want to be more precise. So again, instead of working with multiple times and move this one and this text box, I can just grab them together. And now instead of one container, I have this option right here that is called stack. So I'll click on it, and it's basically like a flex box that gather the text box together. And here I have some different feature in this stack. I can resize and change the space between them by dragging, by clicking on this small line and set different value. And also in the inspector panel, you have the item spacing, and you can change it right from here. And now I want to align all this text to the center, so I can go right here and align to center. When I'm thinking about animation, and this is also my tip for you, I always design as the animation is already ended. So I know that I want to be very precise with my design and be pixel perfect as much that I can. And I want the sentence will be aligned to the center. So I'm not going to place them right here and then with the animation, tell them to move right here and this one to move right here. I always design to the end of the animation. And once I add the animation, I just set the animation and tell them where to come and how distance I want it to come. So I don't care about the animation path right here. I care about the final design. So this is right here. And now let's go to our interactions. So let's go select the container and go to the interactions. Again, we add some scroll effect right here, and now I can keep the container to base also as the trigger and also as the animated element. And we keep it to its design because I want to be full wide open. And we select the shape. Let's go to the adjust, and let's talk once again about the animation area. The 0 point is once the animated element entrance into the screen. So once this container enters into the screen, the animation will start. And once this element will go out of the screen, I don't have a lot of space here to scroll all this out, but the animation will end. So this about the animation area. So I want him to start to open not right when this container enters into the screen. Let's say something about 10%. I want him to start entrance to the screen and then to start open. And I think 50 is okay until it gets to the middle of the screen, and then the shape will start and end to open. And I want him to be very small circle, so I'll change the intensity to 1. And again, make sure this toggle is on and you will see the animation while you're scrolling. So the shape look good for me. Now let's move to our text element. So I'll select the first one. I just make one click and I can see that I'm selecting the stack. So I need another click and now I can see that I'm on the text. So again, I want this text will be also my trigger and also the animated element. I want him to move when this text will be somewhere in the screen. So let's add our scroll also to its design. Remember, we want the design, the final design will be perfect. And we add the move. Let's go to adjust. And I want them to move from the right. So I can just change it to 90 and the distance. If we want to be always, and we want to be always full responsive site, so we always want to change the units to be fluid units. In our case is the percentage and the viewport width or height. If we keep it in pixels, so if we change our screen size, it can go outside to overlap other elements. If you have some very small distance, you can keep on pixel, of course. But again, if you want to be full responsive, so just change the units to be somewhere else. And let's set the distance to 20%. So it will have nice move and the animation area. So I don't want him to start move once the text element enters into the screen because I have the shape that needs to open. So let's say something from here, and I set it to 25 until the middle of the screen. So this is for our text element. We're going to do the same for the second one. So I'm selecting the text and add scroll to its design and move. So we set the same direction of the movement and change the distance to be. Now I want this distance to be, let's say, 15. I'll keep the animation area the same, which means the text elements start to move together, but for the homepage text will be more distance to go. So it will look, if we go now to preview, it's look like it moved faster. So I'm scrolling, the shape starts, and everything moves. Of course, we can always set different values if you want longer distance or to start sooner or ends later, and it's what really you like. So before we jump to our next section, we need to create, again, full responsive site, and we need to remember our breakpoints. So right here on the top, you have the breakpoints of the tablet and mobile screen. And a lot of time we have different design between desktop and different design for mobile. And we can make the adjustment we want. We can change the layout, the colors, and again, create a whole different design. It's also apply on the interaction. We can set different interaction on mobile and adjust the interaction itself. If we want to move it somewhere else or just change the layout, it's also apply on our animation. So let's say right here, and again, if you want to learn about the breakpoint, we have in the Academy lesson that explain and the cascading rule that it's very important to know. But shortly, if now I'll go to the stack that we talk about, and now I want to change the direction to vertically. So the breakpoints mean, the cascading rule means that if I make any change on the lower breakpoint, in this case is the mobile, it won't affect our higher breakpoint. So I can change the entire design on mobile and the desktop will keep the same. And also for the interactions, let's say if I want to change and adjust differently or remove entirely the interaction, sometimes we prefer different interaction on mobile. So I can just remove it right here. And if I'll go back to desktop, you will see that I still have this effect. So this is something to keep in mind, and feel free to change your design and play with a lot of different interactions. So I think we can ready to jump to our third section that, as you can see, it's very similar to the first one. I have some element that enters into the screen, And while I'm scrolling, everything is sticky. And here the interaction that I have, the image come from the middle and move right. And once the image start to move, all this content is fade in. So if we go to the live site, everything is sticky while I'm scrolling, then the effect happens while I'm scrolling. So because we already start and explain how to create the full height of the screen, I know that I need one big container to apply sticky just once and set the width and the height just once. So I will start by adding my container, and I can just go and align it and just start by change to advanced size and set the units that I need. So again, you can just change by clicking or with the shortcut that we talk about, type VH and it will change. So I have this container, let's add the content, and I go to add the content once again as my animation is already ends. So I'll place it right here, and let's add some title, paragraph, and button. This is our paragraph, and this is our button. So I have all the elements. I can just go to change the position type right here to sticky. And as Aaron asked me, we have this container that it's already covered our entire screen. So I want to make sure his parent section will be higher. And because this is unit that we can set, and this is scaling, it will scale for the screen width. And I want him to keep the same height. So again, I go back to the advanced size and change the viewport height. I'll do it again to 150. So I have the sticky, and you can always jump to preview and see that everything is good while you're working. So I have this image that it needs to move, and I have this all content that need to fade in. So instead, to apply a lot of interactions, I'm going to stack between those elements and apply it just once. And before I just unstack it, I want to show you the stack option. Let's say this paragraph, you want them to be, no, you don't want them to be scaling. And let's say I want it to be wrapping, which means the font size, it's always going to be 16, but the line is going to break. So if I resize, you will see now that the text is overlap our button. But if I will create stack between them, so now the text won't be overlap our button and is push the button down. You need to think all the time that you want to create some connection between your element to prevent overlap of the things. If I just drag all the elements to our canvas, each element lives inside its parent without any connection to different element inside of it. And if you have different responsive behavior, things can be overlap. So always trying to find the connection between your elements. So in our case, the stack is fit to me, and also I'll place them in the middle, and I have this design. Now I want to show you a different way to add animations. In our first one, we used the section height to be our trigger to start the animation and ends the animation. But here's a great tip if you want to be very precise of your animation, or if you just want to see the element that base as your trigger. So for this one, I will add line. It could be any other element that you want. I'll make it right here. And now I'm going to tell this line to be my trigger. And this line is going to start the animation of the image and of all this content. So we add the line right here. And we might think that we need to first move the image to the middle and first fade out this content, but we don't need. We can just going to use two interaction here and create this cool effect. So once I add again the scroll, in our page we're using most of the interaction while we scroll in the page to create some more beautiful effects. So this line is our trigger because we add the interaction to the line. But now I want to change our animated element to our stack. Let's start with the stack. And once I add animation to its design, I want once this line enters into the screen, this stack will start to fade in. So let's select the fade. And if we go to the adjust, you will see once this line enters into the screen, this content start to show. But before this line will start, we actually see the initial state of this stack. So we don't need to add some fade out. We just need to tell him, be fade in to your design. But once this line enters into the screen, so it's already fade out. So now this line is our trigger, and I want him to start on 0.1, its entrance into the screen, and I don't need to get to the middle of the screen. I'm okay with, let's say, 15%. And once this line makes some process of 50% of the screen during the screen, so the animation will end. So this look okay. And now I'm going to add the second trigger for this image and add another scroll effect and change for the image. And again, to its design, I want to end the animation when you place right here. So let's select the move because he moved from the left. I tell him to move from left and change to fluid units. And now you will see the initial state. The image will entrance right here and it starts moving only with this line. So I can just set a different values until I get the result that I want. And this line is our trigger, so it could be also until 15. So this line entrance and move this image. So let's go to preview and see what's happened. So you'll see this image entrance from the middle, all these containers sticky, and once this line entrance, all the interactions start to happen, and this is the animation, and all this container is remain sticky, of course, until the bottom edge touch the bottom edge of each section. So this is a great way to know when you want to start the animation, and you have more control to decide when you want to use this line and start any interaction you want. But the last thing here, if we again, every time you need to check your responsive, you will see this line moves up and down and the distance change. So if we go back, we know that this container has 100% of the screen. And this line is supposed to keep the same distance of this container. So I can just go right here and change the units over here. So you have, again, the same units right here, and I change it to viewport height. And now, if we resize, you will see this line keeps the same height of the same container height. If I'll set this container to 80 viewport height, I'll change the margin of this line to be the same as the height. So let's go to preview again. And yeah, this is look very good. And of course, I don't plan to add this line to the design. So don't delete it or hide it because the interaction won't work. I can just go to the opacity. And now this line won't interrupt me in the design. And of course, don't forget to give name. You might come back to the site after a while and you won't understand which line, what it's doing. So you can just say, you are the trigger for the image and text. So you won't delete it by mistake. So this is very important. So you keep your design to work after a while. And let's add another section.
So Tal, one other question with the animation. So you've shown us a lot of animations today. The animations, you're very precise about exactly where you want to start, exactly where you want to stop. How do you make that decision?
So I most of the time just set different values until I get the result that I want. It's like I start to create design. So I try some different design until I get the perfect result that I want. And of course, you can start by calculate to get the specific setting that you need, but you have all the adjustment in the preview, so you can just go and fit and see what you like. And of course, this tip of the line is very helpful to decide when you want to start each interactions and animation. Let's say you have very high section with a lot of interaction. You can just add lines, whatever you want to start this interaction and to start this interaction. But it's really what you like and what's fit to you. So just play with it and explore and yeah. Okay, so we got to our last section. So this is our horizontal scroll. So let's go see on live. And while I'm scrolling, all these images are supposed to move horizontally. So we're going to build it and we're going to see by ourselves. So I just start by create some space, of course, so I have enough space to work. And let's add our images. So in our design, we have 5 images that while I'm scrolling through the page, everything moves horizontally. So I'll just go to our media and let's add those 5 images to the page. Great. And again, all the combination between sticky and scroll can create a lot of amazing, beautiful interaction. So here we're going to use the sticky and we're going to move this element while we're scrolling the page because the sticky creates us the option to do something while we're scrolling. So, and keep the elements on the screen. So if you use some design that go out of the screen, so you will see that if you move things out, it's very difficult to control and sometimes you won't see the content. So you can always go to our page itself right here and change our overflow content to show. And then you will see all the content that it's outside the canvas, but it's more difficult to move things around. And of course, you can set the X if you're working with Figma and you have like Figma and you have all the measurement for this, and we can just set them and then place all the elements that you want. And this is one option. I bring it back. And of course, don't forget to go back and change the overflow to hide. This is very important. So in the live site, you don't have all the white space and the overflow content. So always make sure the default is hide. So if you need to make any changes, just bring it back. But I want to show you some faster way to create this horizontal design. So I'll just make another space, so I'll have enough. And I place all the elements one below the other. So let's say something like that. And of course, you can use the align tool, select all the images and make it align. And now once I grab all these images, I can just create stack. And if you remember, we can change the direction of the stack. And with 2 clicks, I get the result that I want. I have all these images arranged horizontally. I can come here to the layout, make sure all these elements align to the center. And with 2 clicks, I got this design. So use it. It's very helpful. And we're going to add the container so we can use the sticky for. Of course, that I can apply the sticky of the stack, but it's very helpful for me to use the container and set the container to be full width of the screen and the height. So yeah, I know the things are moving out, but it's okay because now I'm working on the gray container and I want it to be 100%, and the height will be also 100% of the height. And now I'll just move the stack to the center, align to left, and add some distance from the left. Let's set the container as sticky, and also the section. We talk about it. If we set the container to be 100%, so I need to make the section higher so I have the scroll duration. And now I have more images, so I'll set it to 200 so it won't move so fast for me. I want it to move while I'm scrolling and while I'm scrolling entire page, let's say. And if we go to preview, everything is sticky. Great, I just need to add the move. So I'm going to do it one more time. Now again with the line. I'll add this line. Again, it could be shape, it could be another container, any element that you want to apply the trigger on. And of course, I remember to change the margin and the distance so it will be responsive. I'll add the interaction on the line to be our trigger and select our stack as the animated element. And now the animation path is supposed to be from its design because I wanted the design will start from here and start moving left. So now I'll change from your design, select the move, and I want him to move to the left. So let's type 270. The distance, I don't know for now how distance I need, but I want this text start moving based on this line. So it starts moving on 0, and I want to see the end of the animation. So what I'm going to do is change until the line gets to 70%. So I still see this element inside the screen because we can see the sticky while we're just animation. It's different features for now. So I'm going to use this line and I'll just make the end very smaller just to see the entire interactions. And now I will just type different values. This is my last image, but it's still outside of the canvas. If I type 70, it's too distant from me. And I know that this is look okay. So everything looks okay right here, and just bring back the line. But if you forgot, so if you go to preview, and you always go to preview to see the design, this is moving very fast for me. So I know that I need to go back and adjust the animation area until this line gets to the middle of the screen. So now if we go back to preview, this line entrance, I can see all the images, and I see that I have more scroll that I don't need because the interaction's already done. So the scroll, it's the height of our section. So I can just go back and set smaller value, and everything moves, and this is look great. And of course, we need to add our content right here, the title, the paragraph, but to show the interaction, this is look okay. So go back and of course, hide our line so it won't interrupt in our design. And if we go all the way back and go to preview, you will see we have a lot of different interaction while we're scrolling the page, and everything's work just fine and looks very good. And we create very beautiful interactions. So if we go back, let's fix this one. Okay. So if we go back, and the top takeaway that we need to take, I'm always planning this section before. So once you see design, try to understand the behavior and the elements that you need. It's very helpful to start building and create. Combine animation with sticky. We saw it on all our sections. This way creates very beautiful result. Remember that sticky needs some space, especially if we use element that it's already cover our entire screen. We need space for the section, and the section will be higher than that. Use section or any other element as the line to base as our trigger, of course. Don't forget to adjust or remove animation from tablet or mobile. Sometimes we want to change the interaction, so just adjust or remove it all. And to create much faster and build much faster, insert and create groups by using container, using stack, and of course, explore all the options that we need. And we have a lot of options in our Wix Studio. Aaron, do you have any question for me?
Oh, first I want to say amazing work. And I don't think you can see the chat, but there's so much response to how beautiful and smooth, and people want to go around, go away and play with what you've taught them. So I think, first of all, amazing job, and thank you for taking us through that. We actually don't have a lot of time, but I think there are some relevant questions we can maybe speed through. I also just want to remind everyone that yes, this is recorded. It will be available in the next 1 or 2 days on YouTube. Everyone who's registered for the event will also get an email with the recording, so it'll be very easy for you to find the link. I also just want to remind you again that we have a feedback form that we're sharing here in the chat. You may have seen it before. It's super, super helpful for us so that we know exactly what you want to see next time. Now, what I think are some really easy questions we can get through, but super, super relevant. So first one, Tal, do you need to write code to use Wix Studio?
And not at all. All the interaction we did today was no code at all. But of course, if you want to add some code, so you have it right here in the panel, the code panel, and you can create by using Velo or using CSS right here, and you create a lot of interaction using code and not using code at all. So this is very important to know.
Awesome. And another question, actually, you know what, Tal, I'll answer this one. What is the best way to get started on Wix Studio? So Rudy, I see you there in the chat asking about live working files. If you want to learn Wix Studio, I think there are 2 things I can recommend. The first one, just to answer you, Rudy, is if you go to the Wix Studio homepage, go to resources and then choose templates. There you will find templates that you should go inside and frankly, break them apart. By studying all the different elements and sections, you can see exactly how this site was built on Wix Studio, as well as the responsive behavior, the interactions and animations like we saw today. That's a really popular way to learn the platform. Another recommendation is to go into the Wix Studio Academy, where there is a Wix Studio Essentials course. It will walk you through different features and sections, and there's different challenges and exercises you can do along the way. So it's a really hands-on way of learning the platform. So with that, we have just hit an hour. I want to say again, Tal, you taught us so much in less than an hour. That was really amazing. Thank you so much for such clear instruction. And thank you to everyone who joined. Loved your questions, loved your comments. We look forward to seeing you again next time. Be sure to check out the recording. Be sure to see us in the Wix Studio Academy. Be sure to join the Wix Studio community and forum, where you can connect with other creators and ask questions just like you're asking here. So thank you again, and wherever you are, have a great day or evening or night, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Aaron.